What's going on, everybody? It's my Nerdy Universe coming at you with another podcast episode about my review of Spider Man 2. Now, we're going to talk about the main cast first, which consists of Yuri Yunthaw's Peter Parker slash Spider Man, Nadi Jeter's Miles Morales Spider Man, Laura Bailey's Mary Jane Watson, Graham Phillips' Harry Osborn, Jim Pierre, Craven the Hunter. I hope I didn't butcher his name. Tony Todd's Venom, which I loved because I'm used to hearing his voice with Zoom from The Flash. So that was, oh my god, it was great to hear him in this game. Griffin Tui, he plays Genki Lee, which is Miles Morales' best friend. Jackie Kino, she plays Rio Morales. I probably butchered her name too, my bad. Mark Rolston, he plays Norman Osborn. Mark Whitney, that's Dr. Kurt Connors. Natasha Olive, that's Haley Cooper, which I thought was interesting because I think that actress was used for the mocap. Because as you guys know, I don't think Haley Cooper, she doesn't speak because she is deaf. So you see a lot of sign language. So one thing I like to think is that Natasha probably did mocap for the sign language and also the face capture too. Leonard Kanto, who plays Sandman. Stephen O. Young plays Mr. Negative. He's back again for that, and I love that. Corey Jones plays Tombstone. And Tara Platt plays Wraith. Chad Dorick plays The Flame slash Cletus Cassidy. Erica Linebeck plays the Black Cat. Ike Omadi plays Aaron Davis. So that's a main cast that we kind of see throughout the story, side missions, stuff like that. So now that we have that out of the way, I want to give my review of the story after playing it on stream and showing that to you guys. The base story is about 12 hours long. When you load up the game, it gives you a unique start screen that goes right into the first cutscene, which I thought was amazing because not a lot of games utilize that anymore. And a lot of people thought they were going to utilize it in the original Spider-Man, but they didn't. And I think that's because it was shown at E3 and they might have just scrapped that, which I wish they didn't, because that would have been a very unique thing to do. Another thing I wish they did was I wish they did the start screen where like whatever Spider-Man you left off on was on the start screen also with Peter, but then when you clicked X, you jumped right in like from that load screen like they did for that beginning cutscene. In my opinion, I think the story is very well written. I also like that they got rid of the Act 1, 2, and 3 trophies from the original game because it helps the story feel more like one consistent piece of like media throughout, like one big movie, which I very much enjoyed. You also get one giant tutorial fight with Sandman at the very beginning, after seeing the beginning cutscene and then another cutscene with Peter at Brooklyn Visions as a physics teacher. I enjoyed that tutorial fight a lot. It was very fun and exciting. You also get updates on side characters in the story, like Black Cat, Kurt Connors, and the Prowler, which is Aaron Davis, because he retired after his sentence in jail after giving up Simon Krieger and Miles Morales. One thing I would like to focus on now is an important section of every Spider Man game, the villains. Now, the main villains are split into two, and that's Craven for, I would say, the first half of the game, and then Venom for the second half. I know people would consider Lizard a main villain, but I don't personally, because I would consider Kirk Connors more of an important part to the story and the main story than the Lizard, because the Lizard doesn't really speak, but Kirk Connors offers backstory on the symbiote and is also one of the centric kind of center points on why Peter gets stabbed in the first place at Craven's compound and gets the symbiote from Harry, which I thought was really good. So I really feel like Kirk Connors shows more of a part in the main story than the Lizard. I think Craven is a very compelling character because he takes out 4 of the Sinister Six and Shocker just to have a worthy challenge and death. And he states this, like, he is dying from, like, cancer, and he's taking out these people just so they can kill him, and whoever comes out on top, that's his worthy death. I also feel like Venom is very well written in because you can really see the manipulation of the symbiote to his host, 1 to Peter and 2 to Harry Osborn. Examples of this would be when Peter was on his way, I think, to Craven, or when you're swinging around as Peter, there's a moment where he's talking about how much it'll hurt Craven when he sees them, and then the symbiote goes, "Kill Craven," in, like, very bold letters in the subtitles. And then another example to this with Harry is when Venom shows him a vision of them healing the world, and it's purely just the symbiote taking over New York, and then this happens towards the end of the story. And just seeing his Venom's vision kind of already kind of manifesting because of Harry is very unique, and I'm not gonna give more of the story away because I know a lot of people will probably get this game as, like, a Christmas gift and everything like that, so I don't wanna spoil a lot of the game, but I just give the story a 9 out of 10 because of just well-written villains and also a lot of updates on side characters that we saw from the first game and also Miles Morales. One thing I want to transition to is side missions and collectibles. This is one thing a lot of people bashed on because now the world is double the size. So a lot of people found it being one of those games that's just like kind of a collectathon, and you're just going to be collecting stuff. You're not really going to appreciate the story. No, it's not, because as you're doing side missions, the side missions will either leave you on a cliffhanger, like the main side missions will leave you on a cliffhanger for future DLC, or they will give you updates on other side characters. One of my personal favorite side missions is the Way of the Flame one because that gives you an update on Yuri Watanabe, who is now Wraith. And one thing I liked from the first Spider-Man game was you got a side mission with her killing mob enforcers, and now she's going after the Flame, who is now this like cult leader who she's already had the past with, but now is like going after him like for real, and like killing his cultists because she lost something or someone to Cletus Cassidy, who we find out is the Flame. There are 16 side missions. Some are longer than others. I mean, some are like one offs. Like there's a firework one that's just like a one off. Some, like the Way of the Flame, are multi part side missions that will lead to cliffhangers that will now lead into DLCs for Spider Man 2, which I hope we get soon. I know they said that we're getting New Game Plus and other stuff by the end of 2023, so I'm really pumped for that. I also find the Wraith persona that Yuri now has, I think it goes very well with Peter Parker's Spider-Man because like it contrasted it very well because she's very like kind of like a brooding kind of like Batman tone character. Well, Peter is like happy in Spider-Man and is like, you can't kill these people, they're people. Another thing is, I found side mission and collectible stuff, the stuff that wasn't like main stuff, a bit tedious and repetitive. I mean, there's a main one that leads to a chameleon cliffhanger thing, but that one's very repetitive. And for to do that, I feel like it's very tedious because if you want that big cliffhanger, you need to do something that's very repetitive and kind of doesn't lead to more until the very end. And also, you get to use the travel mechanics a lot more. So I would rate the collectibles and the gameplay with the collectibles and side missions probably like a 7.5 or an 8 out of 10. Speaking of mechanics, they tweaked a lot of this game to make it feel very different from the first one. Now, in the second one, there are 4 gadgets, just 4. The web shooters are now just like a staple. Like, you don't have to switch to it in a gadget wheel, which I like. But there are 4 gadgets that are universal to both Spider-Men. And then they also got rid of suit abilities. and they replaced the suit abilities with 4 sets of abilities, 2 for each Spider-Man. For Peter, it's the Iron Arms and the Anti Venom. For Miles, it's the Venom and Negative Lightning. There are 4 moves per set, so that gives you a lot of possibilities for ability combos and to kind of play your own way. So I like that a lot, and I think that I'm also glad that people aren't like, "Hey, here's a meta to Spider-Man 2," because everything's has to have a meta now. So I'm glad people then like release videos like that. Another thing I want to go into is the skill tree. There are now 3 separate skill trees. The first one is a combined tree for Peter and Miles, consisting of 26 skills. The next one is a just a Peter tree, which consists of 29 skills, and then the last one is a Miles tree consisting of 17 skills. One thing I don't like is I don't like that Miles only has 17 skills. I either feel like he should have the same as Peter or a bit more because I feel like with his Venom abilities, you can really expand on that a lot. I'm not saying you can't expand on the Venom abilities or the Iron Arms, but I mean, it's the lightning. What can't you do with it? I also feel like the traversal mechanics got a huge upgrade with the web wings that were introduced, and also that when you do tricks, it increases your speed and it doesn't kill it like it did in the first game. They also introduce a loop de loop skill that, if some of you guys like the Raimi movies, is kind of like that, and I love that. So I just love how they expanded on the traversal stuff, and I like how they didn't have to retcon anything with the web wings. The web wings aren't retconned, and a lot of people thought they were going to retcon it because the web wings are mentioned in the first one, but they didn't do that. Peter is just like, this is an upgraded version of the web wings, which kind of makes sense because now that you have Miles, I don't see why you can't work on a better prototype of the web wings from your early days now that you have a second Spider-Man to help you give a kind of new perspective on that. So that was nice. Now let's go to suits. There are totally 58 suits, 38 have 4 separate color options, so you really get a lot of variety with suits. So I like that. Peter has 34 and Miles has 24. One thing I didn't appreciate was Miles not having the same number of suits as Peter. Another thing is that more than half of Miles' suits are from the last game, and not enough of the suits are original to this game. Peter has the opposite problem, in my opinion, in the way that they brought more suits. They didn't bring back enough suits from the first game. Like my personal favorite, the big time stealth suit. I love that suit. I would have liked that suit either with additional styles, maybe, or just brought back in general. I really wish that there was more incentive to unlock suits. I noticed that was a problem when people were reviewing the game after the initial release, that people were like, there's not enough incentive to unlock suits because there are no suit abilities anymore. They're just base abilities. So, I wish there was just more of an incentive, but maybe if you unlock a suit right away, or if you unlock a suit, you get like I wish each suit kind of had their own type of web wings, and you could customize the web wings too. Like that could have been a third option for customization. Because one thing I noticed is some suits may look different web wing style. Like Miles has 2 sets of different type of web wings. One is blue, one is red. Peter has also 2 sets of web wings. One is symbiote, one is regular, and then he also has a third hidden one for the Civil War one, and that's like a mechanical one, which I thought was really cool. Like kind of they could have done it for like Cyborg Spider-Man, but I just feel like there wasn't a lot of variety for the web wings, and for something that is kind of a key staple in this game, I feel like it should have been like something they should have really focused on, but they didn't. It kind of went by the wayside, which is not okay. But I'm not really, although I have these issues, it's not really something I nitpick, especially when I was playing the game. I was kind of just enjoying. Holy shit, we have web wings. Like, let's enjoy this. My favorite suits are the X-Men suit for Miles, and then the classic black suit for Peter. I love the classic black suit because I grew up with the PlayStation 3 games, so I remember Web of Shadows. I also remember Shattered Dimensions, the classic Black Shattered Dimensions was great. So I will always remember that. So that's my go-to suit with Peter, especially when you have. It's possible to have the classic black suit with the black Venom abilities. It's possible. You just have to do a lot of grinding. You have to grind most of the side missions, and you'll get enough tokens and also enough levels to do that. That's another thing I don't like about the abilities is Peter has Iron Arms and Venom, and then it changes to Anti Venom for the rest of the game and also the after game. But you can't switch to Venom, so you can never have the black abilities back. You'll always have the white, which sometimes it just doesn't look good with the classic black suit. The good news is the classic black suit also has an anti Venom style, so that's kind of nice. But I want to be with like the classic purple style, and it doesn't look good with the white anti Venom ability. So that's one thing I don't like, and I hope they fix that when they put in the update for the new game plus and also weather changing abilities and stuff like that. I really like how they expanded on Prowler. You do these Prowler missions, you learn more about him in a sense of like, what did he do? There's one throwaway line when you're doing a Prowler mission where he's like, I almost robbed this building, but then this girl um, tripped an alarm and we lost. There was something about a girl, and it made me think maybe that was a rookie black cat, and they never kind of expand on that. I wish they did because that kind of makes me think that an early black cat either interacted with Prowler or he just missed her. Another thing is we get to see Black Cat, but now Miles interacts with her, which is neat. But she's only there for one mission, and then she's also there for a phone call when you're swinging around as Peter slash Miles. I wish you got to see her more. I wish there was like a mission chain with her. I thought they were gonna do that. They didn't do that. I didn't like that, so that was kind of my experience with that. Um, I like how they expanded her character. I like how you got more details. I'm glad that she retired finally and is like with somebody. She has a girlfriend, which is great, and they really explain that. Um, but yeah, I mean, they don't expand on Prowler that much. I mean, you see him in a final cutscene. He moves in an apartment below you, which is nice. So you're closer now. Miles is closer with his uncle. Um, but that's it. I mean, except for the main villains, there's not a lot of expansion. I mean, you get some missions, like I said, with Cletus Cassidy at the end. You get that reveal, so that leads to a possible Carnage DLC, and then you have Chameleon, who will lead to maybe a Chameleon DLC, or maybe it will just be a lead for the third game because they did announce on Twitter that they're doing a third game that will release in 2028. So I am pumped for that, and I'm glad that they announced that. I think everybody's excited, and they did show a teaser that of like the Rock Rider art of Be Superior. So maybe they are going to be doing Superior Spider-Man. That's going to be interesting with a retired Peter Parker because at the end of Spider-Man 2, you find out Miles Morales is going to be the main New York Spider-Man. He's really grown into that role, and now Peter's retiring. He's probably going to start a family. So, hopefully we get introduced to an Insomniac Mayday baby. And, you really see an old man Peter kind of growing his family, kind of, growing into his parental role. And that's going to be great. My overall experience with the game was great. The story was well written. The main side missions set up for a lot for future expansions for this game was great. My one complaint of this game is how they treat Miles mechanically, not story wise, but mechanically. They kind of put Miles at the wayside. He's got less suits than everybody. He's got less skills than everybody. Why? Why did they do that? If you're going to write Miles as the new main Spider-Man, he should have the same suits. He should have more unique ones, and he should have the same skills as Peter. If you're gonna show this, hell, give him more skills than Peter. If you're gonna show that Miles is growing, show that skill wise. okay, Miles has more skills than Peter on his skill tree. That shows that Miles is growing, or at least the same. But mechanically, you're putting Miles at the wayside. And don't even be story wise, they put Peter at the wayside. I mean, yeah, Peter gets this whole Venom arc, but they weaken him. I feel like Peter, especially, they kind of nerf him like they did in the beginning of Miles Morales, the video game. And I don't like that. And some people wrote it off as, well, Peter's getting older, that's why he was significantly kind of weaker in Spider-Man 2. No, that's not that can't be true because with age comes experience, especially with Spider-Man. Are you kidding me? You're gonna gain experience no matter what, how old you get. Because with that age comes battles, comes years of with your powers. So you're going to really kind of know how to deal with them, how to have unique ways to to use them in fights in life. So mechanically, I don't know how I don't care, and I don't like how they treated Miles, and story wise, I don't like how they treated Peter. Um, just across the board, Miles has the least amount of options out of the two Spider-Man. I would give my final rating of this game probably an 8 out of 10 just because it was so well written and because of how they kind of did the game with the villains and also with the side characters and also with the story expansions. I would give the game probably an 8 out of 10. I get why I didn't win Game of the Year. There are some flaws to the game. I did point those out. A lot of people were freaking out that it didn't win the Game of the Year. I think Yuri should have won Best Performance, but I get why it didn't win Game of the Year. A lot of people were hyping on Baldur's Gate, and Baldur's Gate, based off the gameplay I've seen, looks great. It looks like a great game. I don't think people should shit on it, but I don't understand why Spider-Man didn't win one award. It was nominated for 7. It didn't win one. And I'll go more into this when I release my Game Awards video, and I'm gonna put that up to a poll vote on Friday against my Gen V video, and I'll just see what you guys vote on because that's either going to be Sunday's video next week or the Wednesday video of next week. This Wednesday that's coming up is going to be the Mortal Kombat 1 video or a podcast. But I don't know. The frustration is why didn't it get Game of the Year? I mean, a lot of people were like this with Ghost of Tsushima, God of War, Ragnarok. Games that we find innovative don't get Game of the Year sometimes, and we just have to deal with it. Especially these PlayStation exclusives, and I think you see that a lot. Ghost of Tsushima was a PlayStation exclusive. God of War Ragnarok was a PlayStation exclusive, and Spider-Man 2 was a PlayStation exclusive. And I think the problem is they're right in the name because it being a PlayStation exclusive. Since a lot more, you've now cut the fan base in half. Since the other half, the Xbox players or people who just play Xbox, haven't experienced this game, they're going to vote on a game they have experienced, and that most of the time is what wins Game of the Year because they have a bigger kind of audience to appease to when you have it on both platforms, PlayStation and Xbox. And you have this problem vice versa with Xbox. When a game's an Xbox exclusive, like Starfield, a lot of people who liked Starfield were like, why didn't it have any nominations? Why didn't it get a nomination for Game of the Year? It's because it's an Xbox exclusive. But Spider-Man 2 is better than Starfield because at least it being a PlayStation exclusive, it still got 7 nominees. Anyways, sorry for my rant, guys. I would love to recommend this game as any Christmas gift for parents who don't know what to get their kids, or to any people who are Spider-Man fans or not even Spider-Man fans but love story-driven games. Get this game on Christmas when it goes on sale, or even now when it's not on sale. Because I know PlayStation, they're really big with their sales around Christmas or towards the end of the year. You'll get a lot of end of the year sales. So if you see it go on sale, get it. I really recommend it. Even with some of its flaws, it's not a perfect game. It's not. As much as people are saying that it is a perfect game, I think it's near perfect. There's a lot of stuff that it gets right story wise, but it's mechanically, I feel like it's just below that line because again, it doesn't dish out its mechanics nor skill trees fairly. I feel like to the other character, that being Miles Morales. he's just put at the wayside mechanically, and it's not fair. I'm a huge Miles Morales fan, and I might be biased that Miles should, but if you're gonna make him the final Spider-Man and the go-to Spider-Man, he should have more skills. He should either have more skills than Peter or the same amount because he's going to be your staple. Show that he's grown. You can show story wise he's grown, but the only way they showed that was by nerfing Peter. If you have to nerf Peter to make sure that your character has grown, then you're doing something wrong. You're doing something wrong. Miles, I'm not saying is on the same level as Peter. He's not. He's still a rookie at it. How Peter was still a rookie at it at 15 when he got his powers. Miles has only been Spider-Man, I think, for either 2 years or a year and a half. No, I think it's 2 years in Spider-Man 2. And that's not enough time. I mean, he's gone through one big battle with Finn, and that's it. And that was kind of his moment, and he had his moment by saving the people of Harlem. But Peter has been through a lot more than Miles. I mean, you see that in one scene where Mr. Negative and Miles go inside Peter's head, and Miles goes through that opening kind of. They do a flashback to that opening kind of E3 trailer where Peter is getting beat down by the Sinister Six. They do a rehash of that, but Miles going through it, and then Peter also lost Aunt May. And I know Miles lost one, his best friend Finn, and two, his father. But I'm sorry, because of Peter being older, Peter's been through way, way much more than Miles as a Spider Man. And that is the truth. And I think that's why, one, they didn't give Miles more mechanical stuff, and two, why kind of Peter's kind of weakened to the story. And that might be their kind of like explanation why they kind of weakened Peter because he's getting older, he's kind of tired, and I get that. You can see that when they go inside his head, he's tired, and the symbiote suit gives him that kind of burst of energy. That's why he loves it so much. It's intoxicating having that kind of energy. Imagine if you found a supplement or a pill or something that you could take every day. I mean, and you took it and it gave you like an enhanced or enlightened feeling and you felt like you were 10 times your usual self, you would take it. You would be addicted. That kind of reminds me of a show I've seen recently called Limitless. I mean, this guy would take a pill and he would like be like enhanced. He would be like 10 times himself and just be 10 times smarter, 10 times more enlightened. His emotions would be great. When you get that kind of addiction to something, you don't want to stop. And that's what Peter felt with the symbiote. And with the symbiote's manipulation, it being its own organism, it was manipulating Peter, it was manipulating Harry. That's why they fought at the end. And it was a story about manipulation and how intoxicating something could be like that. And you just have to fight through it to get through. Like their tagline goes, be greater together. Because when you're by yourself, you will succumb to stuff you're not supposed to. And that's what I took away from the story. And that's why I like the game so much. Even being a Spider Man fan, I get why I didn't get Game of the Year. I do. But does it excuse how they robbed Yuri of his best performance? No, I think Yuri put his fucking heart into the story driven cutscenes, into him just talking when we were swinging. I mean, he put his heart into 2018 Spider-Man. I feel like he put more because now he's trying to juggle two personas, the Venom one and then regular Peter Parker, regular Spider-Man. And yet he's not going to get best performance. That just makes me mad. But anyways, like I said, I give the overall story an 8 out of 10. And again, parents and other Spider-Man enjoyers and other people who enjoy a story-driven game, I recommend this to get it on Christmas. Get it when it goes on sale, and you will enjoy probably one of the best games of your life. This is My Nerdy Universe signing off.